You know, I was just thinking about my first trip to the US, which was, I believe, what was it, 2023? It was the trip to Chicago. And I just remember getting to the airport, like arriving at the first US airport, which was in San Francisco, because I was changing flights. And I remember my first encounter with the immigration officers. This is, by the way, unrelated to the case, but I was just thinking about it. And the first encounter with immigration officers, and of course, out of a row of immigration officers who were smiling, I got the one that was not. That was very, very serious. I'm like, yeah, this is the one. This is the one I'm getting. And you know, I go to the officer, right? Like I go to the guy, and the first thing he asks you is, Miss, oh shit, wait, what did I do? Oh, okay, my chat just disappeared. But you know, the first thing that they ask you is, Miss, what is the purpose of your visit in the United States? My brain panicked. And then I was just like, human trafficking. No, wait. No, I'm kidding. I didn't say that. But honestly, this was the first thing that my brain thought about. My brain thought, yeah, this is a great idea. Just tell him human trafficking. It's the perfect timing to joke with the immigration officer. What in the world? I didn't say it, but this was my first thought. Oh, also, Melissa, thank you so much for the soup. I haven't seen My Little Pony since I was a kid. Well, today you're gonna see some of it because we have a case from the United States. And my Jesus Fear, you said that's a serious officer. Yeah, that was a serious officer. He was very serious. And he was just like, no, just like very, very, very square, very, very serious. And I was just like, yep. This is my first thought. Just tell him that you're here to traffic some humans. And let's see how that's gonna go. I was sweating. I was just like, by the time I didn't even say anything, I was like, yep, he is already booking my ticket. Oh my God. He is booking my ticket back to Taiwan. That's it. He's booking my return flight. I didn't even say nothing yet. Sona's intrusive thoughts. No, yeah, that's a true story. But yeah, the point of this story, why am I telling you this? No reason whatsoever. It's just the fact that most of my cases come from the US. Like usually, on average, I do cover a lot of cases from the US. That's it. That's the only reason I told you this. But thank you so much for tuning into the stream. If you're new here, hi, I'm FEARSONA. You can call me Sona, and I'm your friendly neighborhood true crime VTuber, here to give you full body chills. Like and subscribe and notifications and whatever else is it that YouTube needs for algorithm to work. Whatever it is that is free, you know? Just those things are free, so it would be nice. Thank you. If you like the video, like and subscribe and whatever. This is related to the news about stuff related to the government. So like, this is related to the news about the news. No, like there's there's a lot of things happening in the US. I think on average, well, yeah, a lot of things happens, and thus we end up here. Like I cover a lot of cases from the US because I think those are so widely covered that otherwise, like I don't hear that much from Poland. It's not that, let's say from Europe, I don't hear that much. Yeah, there are cases in Europe, but it's just like I feel like it's not as widely covered, because I look up cases from Poland and then I find out like, oh shit, there was this serial killer in Poland. How did I not know about this? Because they don't cover it on the news. They don't, like, I think it's been a trend. It's been a bigger trend now, like recently, but previously, like something happened in like fucking early 2000s or 2010s, and it was just like, oh well, I'm finding out about it now. And I think in the US it's just more, live coverage, more like, oh, we're following this case. So yeah, this is one of those cases, and this was actually the chat's pick. So last week we voted for the next week's or this week's case, right? So this is the case that you guys suggested and you voted in the poll, and we ended up choosing this one. So yeah, how does My Little Pony connect to a mass murder? Well, we're gonna find out today. And it's not gonna be pretty. It's not gonna be easy. It is a pretty horrifying case. I do have a couple of recordings, 911 calls, and it is pretty disturbing. Well, I mean, it's scary. It's scary to hear that. There's, those calls from people who were at the crime scene as it was at the active crime scene as it was happening. And well, yeah, it's a lot to hear. It's a lot to digest. So be warned, viewer discretion is advised. There's gonna be some graphic details, some strong language, and some pretty disturbing videos and recordings. So I am just warning you right now. I think I saw this case. Yeah, I mean, maybe you might have, because it wasn't that, oh god, I completely forgot the expression. What the fuck, brain? That long ago. Oh my god, can you believe that? I forgot how to say that long ago. I don't know. I need my matcha latte. I haven't had my matcha latte yet, so I think that's it. Also, another announcement before we jump to the case. One more announcement, but it's June. It's June, guys. That means I'm getting closer to my debut of my new design. Ah! Am I ready? No! Ah! So I just paused her brain. Yeah, my brain just paused. Melissa, thank you so much. If my childhood gets ruined, I won't blame you, Sona, because I won't blame you for anything. Jesus. I mean, thank you. But, I don't want to ruin your guys' lives and, like, your sleep. Even though I kind of do, like, a little bit. If I suffer, you guys suffer too. We have to suffer together. We have to suffer through this together. Okay. So yeah, did you get the 3D part of it working? Ah! No. I mean, yes, kind of. Yes and no. It's hard to tell. It's very hard to tell if I got it working. It's yeah, I can't even describe it any other way. It's hard to tell. Yes and no at the same time. It kind of works, but it doesn't. It doesn't work as I want it to work. But it kind of works. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can just make it work. Maybe I can just debut with whatever works, Hope the 3D stuff is going better. It's going better. I've improved. Let's say this. I've improved certain settings, and I've found something that I found a kind of beginner's guide and a beginner's file that made it easier, because it was like a setup, like kind of a template. So, yeah, in a way it is easier, and in a way I did succeed in certain things because it made it easier. So that's nice. There are some things that I'm still frustrated about. And today, for some fucking reason, don't ask me why, I started thinking, it just hit me, this anxiety hit me, because I'm changing my design, right? But I kind of looked at my current design and I was like, oh, but I like my current design, and I enjoy it a lot, and I like the expressions, and it just kind of looks like me. Damn, like maybe I should, what if you guys don't like it? What if you guys don't like the new design? What if you don't like the 3D model? Maybe I should have turned this one into a 3D model, which I'm planning to do, by the way. Like, it's along the way, I think I'm gonna also try to turn this model into a 3D model. So yeah, just use current design still as well. I mean, yeah, I will for sure. No, I'm not abandoning this one. Like, I did abandon I kind of like moved on from the other designs that I had, like the previous Life 2D models, because of this one. But I kind of, like, this anxiety hit me where it's like, shit, What did I do? What if you guys don't like it? What if you guys say like, no, this is horrible. We want the bun sauna. We want the you know, the old one. No matter what you choose, we won't judge. I hope so. I hope, you know what, like I because I love the new design too. Like I'm super excited about the new design. I love it. It's just, yeah, like it just hit me today and I was like, oh no. What have I done? What have I done? We like anything you make for us, Sona. Thank you. Joshua, thank you so much. Don't worry, Sona, we probably will. I know it will be pretty. It is a pretty model. Like, no, like I kid you not. Like I did put a lot of thought into the new design, you know, like when I was kind of designing the rough and then when I was instructing the artist that was like drawing it. Yeah, it is, you know, it's pretty. There's like a lot of thought put into it, but at the same time, I'm like, what if it's not that? What if it's just this one because it's a fucking gremlin? And yeah, it's we'll see. Fingers crossed. But June 28th for now. There might be delays, but for now, mark your calendars, June 28th. That's the target debut date. So June 28th, that's Saturday, so weekend. Hopefully you guys can tune in. But yeah, well, you know, locked it on my calendar. Yeah, wonderful. Everything is crossed. Yeah. Okay. And because I'm having, obviously my voice is turning into a toaster, I have to drink. Should I splash on my microphone? Of course I did. Wait, I need a tissue. Okay, I'm gonna glitch for a moment because my tissues are like, okay, a slight ASMR, but I have to wipe my microphone because I fucked it up. And yeah, all right. 12 minutes late. No, we haven't started the case yet, so don't worry. Jose, thank you. You'll be all right, Sona. Goodbye doesn't mean forever. I'm sure you will still be using the current model. I will. You know, I feel like there's gonna be times because I don't have, for the other design, I only have a 3D model. I don't have a VTube Studio. That's why, like, it was kind of intentional. I was just like, oh, you know, for maybe like heavier things, if I'm playing something and I need like a lighter program, then like instead of 3D, or maybe on the days that I don't feel like putting on 3D stuff, yeah, like I still want to use the Life 2D model. So that's why it was kind of like intentional. I was thinking like, oh, because I want to prevent myself from abandoning this model. So that's why. But yeah, you know, I'm still thinking of turning this one into a 3D model as well. So we'll see. Okay. All right. I think it this time. I think it's time for us to jump to the case. You guys, make yourselves comfortable. Turn off your lights. Grab yourself a hot beverage in this scorching hot weather because it makes sense for a full body chill stream, and let's get right into it. So it was just after 11 p.m. in Indianapolis when the first 911 calls started rolling in, and those calls were at first like they were very hard to place. You know, the dispatchers heard gunfire, they were hearing screams, and then they were hearing silence. Within minutes, chaos had descended on a FedEx facility just a few miles from the airport. And here are some 911 calls, and here's some of the footage, some of the pictures from the crime scene. So take a listen.
County 911. Is anybody experiencing flu-like or COVID-19 symptoms?
No, somebody's shooting in my hub. I'm at FedEx in Plainsville.
What's the address?
There's gunshots everywhere.
Okay,
Please hurry.
What is the address?
The address is 8951 Mirabelle Road.
How many shots did you hear?
I don't know if anybody got shot. Can we go out down here? Can we run on wait for the end to go out?
Don't go outside. Stay where you're safe.
8951 Mirabelle Road.
I want you to stay with me, okay? Don't hang up, okay?
Shut that door!
Yeah, so Apparently, a man had pulled into the parking lot during a shift change just as the workers were clocking in or heading home. And he walked inside like he belonged. You know, like he walked inside like it was nothing. He just like walked in and then turned around. Like he started chatting briefly with the security and then turned around and walked back to his car. You know, like nothing seemed weird about it. He was just like, okay, well, walked in, chatted with the security guards, turned around, went back to his car. Okay. You know, at least nothing weird, at least not yet. Moments later, everything changed. Without a warning, this guy steps out of his car with a rifle and begins firing. Like workers in the parking lot dove for cover. Bullets started flying left, right, and center. People ran. Some didn't make it. The shooter then made his way to the building's entrance because this was the parking lot. Also, raid. Thank you so much, raiders. Welcome. Thank you so much for raiding. And you guys, can you tell me who raided? Because I was like focused on. I'm so sorry. I was like looking at the pictures and I'm looking at my notes and I was trying to just pay attention to what I was saying and I saw the notification but then it disappeared. I'm so sorry, you guys. Can you tell me who raided? Oh, okay. It was Rena. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the raid as always. Okay. So yeah, back to the story. So some people unfortunately didn't make it as the fires, shots were fired in the parking lot. And then the shooter made his way to the building's entrance and continued his rampage, only stopping when a full height turnstile inside of the building slowed him down because he had to go through, right? But he fired through it first toward people, employees trapped on the other side, helpless. And then just as quickly as it begun, he turned back around and vanished into the building. And it all unfolded, mind you, everything unfolded in less than 4 minutes. 4 minutes of horror. Literally just 4 minutes. Imagine that this is a song. This is basically one pop song. And yeah, play one pop song. That's how long it took. Okay. So then, this incident left a trail of devastation and a community reeling. And then news reports started coming in.
From near the front of the entrance.
In Indianapolis overnight, 8 people shot and killed, several others wounded at a FedEx ground warehouse near the airport.
More shots went off. Somebody went behind their car to the trunk and got another gun, and then I saw one body on the floor.
We're told around 100 workers were on duty when the shots rang out. Officials say the gunfire started in the parking lot and continued at the building, adding that the massacre was over in a matter of minutes. An internal briefing from the Department of Homeland Security says this facility is the second largest FedEx Express hub in the world. The gunman dying by suicide, according to police.
Yeah. I mean, this wasn't just another mass shooting. There were also signs, apparently, warnings, and a system that failed to stop it. So tonight, we are diving deep into one of the deadliest shootings in Indiana's history and uncovering how so many red flags were missed in the lead up to a tragedy that never should have happened. Okay, so before the FedEx shooting made headlines, before the sirens and the police tape and the 911 calls, there was a kid. There was this little boy growing up in Indiana who, by all accounts, didn't seem that different at first. But the signs started showing. The kind of signs that, they don't scream at you, but there in the back of your head. If you're listening, you're gonna pay attention to those signs because you're gonna feel like, okay, this is strange. So from the time he was a toddler, something about him seemed like a little off. Not just quirky, but like troubling. Brandon Hall. Before he became a mass murderer, he was just a kid, but then something changed. As early as 3 years old, his behavior started to shift. He became anxious, emotionally volatile, and he was like obsessed with rigid routines. Like he would get stuck on all those like small things, like needing to wear not one, not two, but like 3 pairs of shorts at all times. And his mom noticed that if anything in his routine got disrupted, like even slightly, it would just send him into a tailspin. So, and soon, like, she realized that it's not just innocent, because she was like, oh, you know, like he fixates on the smallest things, and he would just lose his shit, absolutely, like lose his marbles the moment his routine, his like pattern got disturbed or disrupted, right? And then she realized that it's not just innocent fixations. You know, like when a kid is being a kid and maybe stubborn a little because, you know, he likes something or he likes doing something a certain way. Like this was so much more than that. At just 4 years old, Brandon experienced a trauma that no child should have to process. His parents got into a heated argument, and his mom said that she was leaving and taking the kids. His father said that if she did, he would end his life. And tragically, that's exactly what happened. Now, Brandon didn't actually witness, you know, his father's death firsthand, but he didn't have to. The psychological aftermath followed him like a shadow. And from that moment on, his behavior spiraled. By age 10, his mother had taken him to doctors, desperate for answers. You know, like she just wanted an answer. Like, what is wrong with my boy? Like, what's happening with my boy? How can I help him? Because it's just, you know, it's destroying our lives. It's destroying his life. How can I help him? Can someone help me? And they gave her the diagnosis, and it was not something that she was prepared for. The doctors told her that he has disruptive behavior disorder and generalized anxiety, and later doctors added obsessive compulsive disorder to the list. Like it was, you know, it was a lot to handle. It was a lot to handle, not what any parent is prepared to deal with when it comes to their young child. The kid is traumatized. Well, I think this was a part of it, right? Like it was one part of it. As he was, you know, like the disorders, those were like independent from that. But, you know, as he was, the mom saw signs of like something strange, where like him like fixating on certain things. So probably OCD. And then this happened and he was in a like worse shape. Yeah, it's, you know, not something that you want to hear from the doctors, because they're like, oh my God, okay, how do we make this work? And the mom, Sheila, like she wanted to make it work. She's like, okay, well, now that we have a diagnosis, that's good. We know what's happening. How do we make this work? You know, how do we make your life easier? How do we make your life, you know, not as disruptive? How do we make your family, right, like our family's life easier? Okay, so it wasn't easier. It didn't get easier. It got harder and harder. Because Brandon himself actually seemed like, so the weird thing about Brandon is that he seemed to recognize that something was wrong. Like he told a nurse one time that he didn't want to be angry, that he didn't mean to lose control, but he just couldn't help it. And the people around him were paying the price. You know, he was just like, no, I don't want to be angry, but I'm angry all the time. You know, like I'm angry at mom, I'm angry at siblings, I'm angry at someone, you know, like that's the kind of thing. So I was right. So Tsunohanashi says, so I was right about OCD being one of the disorders. Yeah, like there were signs of that. I thought it might be when Sona described how he got into routines. Yeah, he felt he needed to stick to badly. Yeah. That's why the mom was just like, okay, this is kind of getting out of control. We have to this is kind of getting like a little weird. Like being stubborn for a kid, that's one thing. That's pretty, that's pretty regular. That's pretty standard. Like, yeah, kids get stubborn sometimes, or like kids get the favorite toy and they don't want to let it go, right? Like that's pretty normal. But yeah, like there was something out of sorts about him. Like, oh, okay, like he really gets fixated on certain things and he really doesn't like it, or like he hates it and lashes out when his routine is disturbed. Okay, and when he would lash out, unfortunately at one point, Brandon would lash out violently. And, his mom, Sheila, like she often found herself on the receiving end of these fits. And one of those fits in particular was especially scary after a minor scuffle with his mom's boyfriend over something like as harmless as getting sprayed with a garden hose. You know how parents would do that, or like how adults would do that. Like they're hosing down, like I don't know, they're watering the garden with a hose, and then the kid is kind of playing around, like playing outside, and just to like as a joke, just to play a joke or just to be playful. The adult, like I would get sprayed with a hose, right? Like just something fun. Like maybe I would get mad, or I would just be like screaming like, hey, stop it, or or I would start laughing, especially if it's summer. I'll be like, yeah, this is great. But yeah, this was not great for Brandon. So he got very upset and he stormed off and he locked himself in the bathroom, and then he began tearing it apart. Like the Sheila was hearing him like scream, slam things, smash things from the inside, like inside of the bathroom. Yeah. Sadly, it appears he could not try to fight it. Yeah, like he was just like, I'm angry all the time. I can't help it. Spitfire, hello. Okay, so Sheila is hearing him like basically tearing the bathroom down, like slamming, screaming, smashing things. And when his mom finally opened the door, Brandon charged at her. So he charged at her. He bit her, he hit her, and slapped her. He started getting violent, and then he bolts to the kitchen, like he bolted to the kitchen, and he grabbed 2 knives. And came at her. Like he came back with those knives, and it took a police intervention to end the standoff. Like Sheila was fine, but she was fine physically, but she wasn't fine mentally. And get this, Brandon was just 11 years old at the time. 11. Yeah. Like it was horrible. It was such a horrible episode in this family's life. So Brandon was arrested. He was charged with battery, criminal confinement, and intimidation, because the mom was just like, no, like I can't, he came with a knife at me. Like that's not okay. That's not normal. Like we have to deal with this somehow. And that would be his very first brush with the justice system, but far from the last. A judge sentenced him at the time. He sentenced him to probation and counseling, but the therapy didn't seem to work. Like, not really. School became impossible for Brandon. He was suspended multiple times for fighting and aggression, until eventually his mother pulled him out of school, like altogether, because he was just like, at this point, like it was impossible for him to go to school. Yeah, like his mom was just like, that's impossible. He's being aggressive. He's being very aggressive towards students, teachers, adults, whoever shows up at school. Like if they cross paths with Brandon and he's in a bad mood, or he's having one of the episodes, or there's something that just disrupts his routine, or something that just triggers him, yeah, like he would attack them physically. Yeah, it was just an impossible situation, So the mom did what she thought was the right thing, which, yeah, like, you know, pulled him out of school, and she was trying to find him maybe like a better arrangement, you know, specialized school, something to help him, right? Like something to help him continue his education in a safer environment for him, right? And Brandon didn't improve. He became increasingly isolated. You know, he was cut off from friends, from any structure, from support. So she tried to find him, to arrange something, but then it just didn't work out. And yeah, and it was just not helping his situation. By age 13, another diagnosis was added to the growing list. Brandon was put on the autism spectrum of autism. So it was autism spectrum disorder, right? And at this point, most of his human contact came from a social worker who visited the house twice a week. And the rest of the time, like, Brandon was alone. He was alone with his computer. He was alone with the internet. And this is exactly where things start getting really disturbing. He was basically left unchecked and unsupervised at times. Brandon began developing a fascination with mass shootings. Yep. He began being fascinated with mass shooters. That was his latest fixation. That's not good. With his, you know, the list of conditions that he has, that was very bad, and no one knew. So this wasn't just a morbid curiosity, like, it turned into something darker. He would browse forums, he would share memes mocking the victims of mass shootings, and he would linger on details of attacks that most of us would rather forget. He would just like look for pictures from crime scenes. He would look for pictures of the victims. He would just like find out those like little, very tiny, minuscule details, like something morbid, something horrible, that he would just, you know, feel the need to tell everyone. And when a mental health evaluator once asked him directly if he identified with mass shooters, Brandon said no. He claimed it was just too much trouble. He's like, no, I don't identify with mass shooters. Like, I don't want to be a mass shooter. It's so much trouble. He said he didn't want to, at first, he said he didn't want to traumatize. Oh my God, am I gonna sneeze? Oh, please don't. So anyway. So yeah, so Brandon would say like, no, I don't want to traumatize the families. But that answer just wasn't convincing, especially when at the same time, he was posting content that basically glorified those very crimes, the mass shootings. And he would share memes, right? Like he would share pictures, he would share all those things about mass shootings, and he would just like glorify the mass shooters, right? So this was very clear to almost everyone who came into contact with him, you know, like therapists, police, even his own family. It was that Brandon Hall was a deeply troubled young man, and the systems meant to catch people like him before they fall through the cracks, before they commit something. They tried, they documented, they assessed, but in the end, they didn't stop him. Like, there's so much record of what the things that he did, the behaviors that he exhibited, heck, the, you know, like arrests. And those systems were supposed to like stop him from, I don't know, purchasing a firearm, and they didn't. So yeah, we're gonna get to that. Oh, we're gonna get to that. He's got issues. He's absolutely got issues. And well, yeah, he has mental health issues, and that was like well documented. On multiple occasions, it was well documented that he's diagnosed with certain things, right? He's diagnosed with certain conditions. And it didn't stop him. Like he eventually he managed to get a firearm. He managed to get not one firearm, by the way, which is incredible with a rap sheet like that. Like, you know, arrests and the psychological evaluation, and he still could get a gun. Well, I'll get there. Of course they didn't. Yeah, like they failed so miserably. You'll see. So by the time Brandon Hall was a teenager, the signs weren't just subtle anymore. They were blaring like sirens. He was like withdrawn from the world around him. He pulled deeper into, the internet, deeper into the obsession over mass shootings, over violence, over just gruesome details. And he would just kind of like dig himself deeper into isolation. And yet, like, despite all of those red flags, everything waving in the wind, like multiple red flags, nothing was done in time to catch this, to stop him, to, like, do something. In early 2020, which is, pandemic era, COVID era, it's like the beginning of COVID, the situation hit a tipping point. His mother, so Sheila, who'd already, like, had years of violent outbursts to deal with, she called the police again, terrified. She told them that her son was talking about dying. And specifically, Brandon told her that he wanted to die by suicide by cop. Which basically means that is when someone intentionally provokes police into using lethal force, right? Like, he wanted to provoke police somehow. Like, he said... So he would say things like, and this is where I quote, "I am going to point this unloaded gun at the police and they will shoot me." End quote. Yeah, so suicide by police, basically. But yeah, the jerky way out. No, like, he was saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna point this unloaded gun. So I'm not gonna do anything, but I'm gonna point this unloaded gun at the cops, and they're gonna shoot me. I'm gonna force them to." Yeah. Shane said the fact that he passed the psychiatric evaluations and background checks with a record like that, he had already was shocking. Was an accident waiting to happen. Yeah, like, it was just missed for some reason. Like, all the systems, everything just failed to deliver the information on time to, the background checks for firearms. And it just, like, failed so miserably. Yeah. So authorities at first, they took the warning seriously. They showed up. They confiscated, by the way, a shotgun from Brandon. He had access to a shotgun. Yeah, like his mom said, like, yeah, he had access to a shotgun. I don't remember, I don't know how, but he had a shotgun. So the police eventually showed up. They took away his shotgun, like his mom reported him. He apparently had access to a firearm. Great. And here is actually one of his Facebook posts in which he poses. This is like one of his last Facebook posts, and he poses with an assault rifle. This is right before the shooting, pretty much. So police placed him under temporary psychiatric detention, and he was evaluated, he was interviewed, monitored. But here's the kicker. Despite the warning signs, the FBI concluded that he hadn't committed a crime and he wasn't motivated by extremist ideology. So, case closed. Let's move on. Sort of, but let's move on. Yeah, it's okay. Like, he didn't do anything yet. So let's let him go. Like, yeah, okay. Yeah, he didn't do anything, so you don't... Okay, fine, you can't hold him anywhere, but are you gonna kind of flag that, hey, he's not allowed to get any firearm? Are you gonna do that? No, they didn't. Like, they kind of like, oh, they have this record. They kind of have him flagged, sort of, but not really. Yeah, so a suicidal teenager who talked about suicide by police with violent tendencies, by the way, a history of assault, and an obsession with mass shootings, flagged, documented, reported by his own mother, and he still managed to fall through the cracks. He still managed to get a firearm. So you would think that would be enough to trigger Indiana's like red flag law, which is supposed to prevent dangerous individuals from accessing firearms, but somehow it wasn't enforced in his case. Somehow. A few months later, Brandon legally purchased not one, but 2 assault rifles. And one in July and one in September, just business as usual. He just purchased it. How did he get, like, many people ask, like, how did he even get money for this? Well, he was like technically like he was working by the time, like he was already I think 18 or something. He was, you know, he was working. And how did he buy the guns? Like, how did he have the money? Yeah, he was working, but like, oh, do you have that much money on your hands? Well, yes and no. Well, he had money from his work, but the real cash came in from the COVID stimulus. So remember that era? Yeah, no, like COVID stimulus. He got like basically a check for $3,000, like in COVID stimulus money. That's how he had the money to buy the firearms. Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, one check for $3,000. It was like, oh, you know, right? Like they have like those, they had like several stimulus checks at the time. Yeah. So he got $3K to basically, like his mom said, like, you basically gave him $3,000 in COVID-19 money. And that's how he got it. And, you know, if you're wondering about the distinct like stickers placed on both weapons, because there are stickers, well, this is another part of Brandon's story. And this is another one of his obsessions. In the months leading up to the massacre, Brandon found himself fixated on one thing, a pixelated, pastel-colored fantasy where friendship was magic and really reality didn't apply. So Brandon had a full-blown obsession with My Little Pony. Specifically, he had an obsession with a character, one of the characters named Applejack. And now if you're scratching your head thinking like, wait, isn't this like a kid's cartoon? Yes it is. But like many parts of the internet, the fandom around it took a sharp, strange turn, like very strange turn. There's this subculture that I talked about in another one of my streams. Like if you watched one of the furry crimes cases that I covered, then I mentioned it in one of them. But there's this subculture known as bronies. So men, often in their teens or 20s, deeply invested in the show. They, you know, had formed around like My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. And while the vast majority of this community are harmless fans who just, you know, they just genuinely like the show and they are like very passionate about the show, others are not so innocent. So some corners of the Brony community have been known to attract not so great people, you know, attract extremists, including white nationalists and predators who use the show's innocence as a mask. And, you know, different headlines, like Bronies made headlines in different cases. It is a very bizarre, contradictory world where, you know, those brightly colored ponies, you have those like bright colors and ponies and friendship. But then in this community, this corner of this community, it meets like some of the darkest corners of the internet, right? Like it's just, or darkest things. Like they just mix it up Like My Little Pony, cutesy ponies, and then let's mix it up with white supremacy, or let's mix it up with like in furry community, like, oh, the darkest corners of furry community. Yeah, there's quite a few that mix up PDF philia with you know, with furries, and like, oh, cutesy animals. Okay. And this is exactly what happened in the Brony community. So this is exactly the world that Brandon was quietly absorbing himself into. So he wasn't just, because he was so obsessed with My Little Pony, he started digging deeper and deeper and going deeper and deeper into this Brony community. And then he finally reached the dark corners of the Brony community. And on the night of the FedEx shooting, just 1 hour before the first shots were fired, Brandon posted a message to Facebook, and it was that message with the picture with the rifle, but you know, you can't see the message, so I'm gonna show you what the message actually said. This is not the real, it's just like a simulated post, but the text is real. So this is what he posted. He said, "I hope that I can be with Applejack in the afterlife. My life has no meaning without her." By the way, so here's some photos of Brandon's room. And I mean, you can immediately tell that he was what he was mainly interested in. Also, the fuck? Like, what is going on here? I absolutely don't get it. But yeah, you know, this is that's his room. And he had quite a lot of you know, he had Applejack. I don't want to say anything, but this part kind of concerns me. Like, why is it's kind of like it's so strange. But hey, you know, people like certain things, right? Like I'm an anime girl on the internet. I like it, and I talk about true crime, and this is my little obsession, let's say. But this was getting out of control. This was not just an obsession, you know. It was getting, for Brandon, it was getting very, very intense. Oh, that's a bit too much. Yeah, you guys, that's one thing. Yeah, like that Applejack plushie. Yeah, there's something about it that just worries me. No information there, by the way. Like, I don't know what it meant. Like, what exactly? Like, if it's like something concerning, but if it's just a plushie, or if it's not just a plushie, but like when I looked at it, I was like, oh, why is there kind of like a crack here, or like something here? I don't want to think about it, but unfortunately my brain just immediately went into the worst possible, like imagining the worst possible scenes. So I was like, oh my god. Yeah, something about it it doesn't sit right. Yeah, don't want to know. I didn't look it up. I didn't dig further into like, oh, was there a meaning behind this? Was there something like else disturbing? I was just like, you know what? My intrusive thoughts and my just like disturbing thoughts can just be disturbing thoughts. I don't want to think about it too much. Okay, so, you know, the Facebook post, a very haunting statement. This was like the night before the shooting, and one that reads more like a suicide note than a manifesto. So it wasn't really a manifesto, right? Like, it just sounded like a suicide note. Oh, like, I hope that I can be with Applejack in the afterlife. My life has no meaning without her. Okay, so it's also a glimpse into Brandon's troubled mind behind this tragedy. You know, like a young man who had seemingly lost all connection to reality. He's like clinging to this cartoon character, like it's his last anchor keeping him alive. Law enforcement would later confirm that he had 2 Facebook accounts dedicated entirely to My Little Pony. And there were, the weird thing is, like, I mean, not the weird thing, but like there were no really like extremist rants, no angry posts, just, you know, just ponies. That's it. Just pastel colored ponies. And I don't know, the sense that his world had already ended long before he picked up a gun. Bacon, thank you. Bacon says, I would rather have him do concerning stuff with a plushie than the things he did. Yeah, at least like, oh, he's doing it just on his own, whatever. We don't know about this, right? Like, oh, if he was just doing concerning things with a pony, with a plushie, whatever. But yeah, he did something else. I wish Applejack would have been enough to stop shit hitting the fan. Oh my god, Applejack. I'm gonna think about thanks Bacon. Now I'm gonna think about it, Applejack. I'm not gonna, like, when I see Applejack, I'm just not gonna think Applejack. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the input into my imagination. Okay, so like, what does this all mean? Was this about mental illness? Like, was it about access to guns, about failure of the system? Maybe everything. Maybe all of this, all of the above. What's clear is this: multiple people tried to intervene. His mother, mental health professionals, federal agents, but it wasn't enough, or it wasn't fast enough. And this lack of like appropriate, fast enough reaction led to a horrifying tragedy that we're gonna talk about right now. April 15th, 2021 started out like any other night at the FedEx ground facility near the Indianapolis airport. It was a busy workday, just as any. You know, packages being scanned, sorted, loaded, employees clocking out, clocking in, others just being, just beginning their night shift. Nothing about it suggested that a mass tragedy was about to unfold. Nothing, except one person in the parking lot. And it was just past 11 p.m. when the first shots rang out. Witnesses say that a man drove into the facility's lot right around shift change. And that's actually important because the timing meant the shift change, right? Like right in the middle of the shift change. And this is important because the timing meant that the most people would be outside, either arriving at the facility or leaving the facility because they were changing shifts, right? So he parked his car, Brandon parked his car, he stepped out, and then, after chatting with the security guards, he came back to the car again, got out, and immediately opened fire with a legally purchased assault rifle. No shouting, no warning from him. Just immediately, without a word, he just started shooting. And then the first targets were employees standing in the parking lot. Wait, let me see. The thing is, I won the same plushie from a claw machine, and I can see it right now. Oh no, Baxter, why? Plan. Baxter, you're in the right place and at the wrong time. Oh yeah. Yeah, why they... Wait, come on, why? Why FedEx? Why? I'm gonna get to that. Actually, this is important. This is also significant. Why FedEx? Why the FedEx facility? Because he worked there. Brandon used to work at this very FedEx facility. That's why. Because he had access. He had a card. I'm gonna explain it a little bit more later, but yeah, that's why. Thank you for the question. Okay, so the first targets were employees standing in the parking lot. Some actually were in their cars. Some were inside of their cars and they never saw it coming. They were about to leave. They finished their shift. They were about to leave and then they got shot as they were in the driver's seat of their cars. Panic erupted, people started running around, ducking behind cars, trying to cover behind dumpsters, and one FedEx worker later described hearing a series of loud pops, thinking at first that it might have been fireworks. He was just oh, I wonder if there's some kind of celebration, something someone firing fireworks. But when they saw coworkers dropping to the ground, they realized that this was happening. And we have some more 911 calls from that night. Let me play some of them.
Marion County 911.
There's been a shooting.
Okay.
Multiple shots.
How many shots were fired?
A lot.
I think there's possibly multiple shooters. I hear them outside. I'm in the control room. There's 3 of us in here. Sorry.
Okay, so what I need for you guys to do, like I said, stay down, make sure your door is locked. Put something against that door if you can to keep yourself safe, okay?
Please. There's one upstairs.
Okay, they're on the way. They're on the way.
And what's going on there today?
There's shooting.
Somebody was
Shooting.
shot.
I need multiple shots, but they're still here.
Marion County 911.
There's been a shooting.
Okay.
Multiple shots.
How many shots were fired?
Oh, did I play that? I think I played that. Was this like looped? I forgot. Wait, let me see. Let me see if this was actually looped. Oh, yeah, it was looped. Yeah. Sorry about the loop. But yeah, these were some of the calls, and those are just like fraction of the calls. Like calls started like pouring in. So many calls. Like well, at first it's just like 1 or 2. They were like, oh, I wonder, you know, the dispatchers were like, okay, this seems like maybe it's like not that serious. Maybe it's like, okay, let's send the police. But then it's just like, oh my God, all those calls are pouring in. Like, we're just only picking up calls from the FedEx facility. The shooter then made his way toward the entrance, and inside the facility, chaos was already spreading, but calling for help from the inside. So this was another problem. Calling for help from the inside, like from inside of the facility, was impossible. Almost impossible. Because, see, FedEx had a strict no phone policy on the sorting floor, especially. And Danny, thank you so much for the super. Oh, hey, are those fireworks? I wonder what they're celebrating. Oh my God, what is happening? Yeah, I mean, yeah, essentially. But yeah, like FedEx had a strict no phone policy on the sorting floor, and employees were required to leave their phones in lockers during shifts, meaning that many of them had no way to call 911. They had no way to call for help or check on loved ones. It's crazy. Like, oh, maybe, you know, it wasn't just one person, right? Like, oh, maybe your family, like a couple of family members worked at the FedEx facility and they had no way to check if everyone is okay. Some people hid under conveyor belts, others like slipped into storage areas and they tried to stay quiet. One employee later described crouching in silence, praying that he wouldn't be found. And back outside, like a witness said that the shooter screamed something unintelligible, but his tone was just pure rage. This person said, like, yeah, he's screaming. I can't say, like, I can't tell what he's saying because I can't hear really well, but you know, this is rage. Like, he is mad. Like, he is just furious. And once inside the entryway, he tried to push further into the building, but he was blocked by a full, like, the turnstile, right? Like, as I mentioned at the beginning. But then he just, like, shot through the turnstile and he shot at people, and he actually, like, got some people too. Unable to get further inside, he turned around, exited the building, and opened the fire in the parking lot once again. So whoever was in the parking lot, if they thought, like, you know, after he went to the building, they thought like, okay, he went to the building, we are safe, we're, you know, we can kind of like, oh, maybe direct police officers or something. No, this guy came outside again and started shooting once again in the parking lot. So they're like, oh fuck. And in the midst of all of this terror, one employee armed with a personal handgun, he tried to stop him. He took a shot, he missed, and the shooter just kept going. And the whole nightmare lasted less than 4 minutes. As I said, like, it was just basically one pop song. And so many people died. More got injured. 8 people died in a matter of 4 minutes, in a matter of one pop song. And then multiple people got injured. Like four more, I think four people were wounded. And dozens more, like, were just emotionally scarred forever. And by the time officers from the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, this is actually footage from that night, by the time they got to the scene, it was just basically over. The shooter had taken his own life inside of the building, not far from where the whole rampage began. A later search would reveal that he was armed with those 2 rifles, both legally acquired, despite his prior psychiatric hold and a history that should have raised every single red flag. But it didn't. It didn't raise flags in time. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Must have felt like hours. Jesus. Poor people. Yeah, no. It's insane. So authorities swept the facility. They cleared the room, like every single room of the facility, not knowing if there might be more shooters. So they weren't sure if it was just one person or more. Survivors were escorted up. Yeah, I keep turning this on. I'm sorry, Scuff. But survivors were escorted out slowly. Many of them still in shock, some weeping. Outside, family members gathered in a makeshift waiting area, desperate for answers, for names, for any signs of hope. And this wasn't just a workplace shooting. This was an act of devastation. It was just so devastating to the whole community. Many of the victims were actually from this is one of the controversies in this case. So many of the victims were from the Sikh community, which made up the bulk of the facility's workforce. And in the wake of the tragedy, this fact raised more questions. Was this racially or religiously motivated? Was it targeted, or was it simply a crime of opportunity? And it just, in the end, we don't know, but there weren't any signs that Brandon had anything against the Sikh community. So maybe not. Law enforcement, for their part, said that, there were no clear signs, no clear evidence of bias. But members of the Sikh coalition and broader community weren't so sure. They called for a deeper investigation, not just into motive, but into everything that allowed the systems that allowed a clearly unstable young man to legally buy weapons and, of war and walk right into a place where he used to work. Because yes, that's another chilling part of the story. Brandon Hall used to work at this facility. He knew the layout of this very facility. He knew the shift change. And he knew, likely he knew who would be standing outside. He knew those people. Yeah. He knew the people who would be standing outside. He knew the people who would be arriving at work. It's crazy. And wait, let me check one thing. Let me just look up one thing. I just have to... Okay, wait. Let me see. Because I have to just confirm something. 19. Sorry, he was 19. Because I was like, was he 18 or 19? He was 19. Yeah, Brandon was 19. But at least he didn't care. Well, I mean... It's crazy. Yeah, so he knew this facility, he knew the layout, he knew the people, and still no one saw it coming because he was so isolated. He wasn't friends with anyone there. He was, co-workers, yeah. Whenever we talk about tragedies like this, it's easy to get wrapped up in the chaos, the shooter, the why, but if we stop there, if we only talk about the violence, we miss the most important part. The people who should still be here, but who are not because they lost their lives. So on April 15th, 2021, 8 people went to work and never came back. They weren't headlines. They weren't statistics. They were parents, daughters, sons, co-workers, friends. And tonight, we're going to talk about them. So I wanna just tell you guys who were those people, who lost their lives. There was Amarjit Johal. She was 66 years old. She was a proud grandmother, very hardworking, beloved in her family and community. She had just finished her shift and she was sitting in her car. She was ready to go home. You know, that's what I said. Like, some people were sitting in their cars. Amarjit was one of them. She never got the chance to get home. She was a member of the Sikh community, and she was known for her kindness, her strength. Her family said that she had plans to travel soon. Her granddaughter called her the backbone of our family. The next one was Jaswinder Singh. He was 68. He had just started the job a few weeks before the shooting. His son said he took the job to stay busy, you know, to be productive. He was just like, yeah, my dad was just getting bored. And he was like, you know what? I need a job. I want a job just to be productive. I don't really need it. He didn't really need the job, but he was just like, you know what? Like, I wanna be around people, and I just want to be productive. He was deeply spiritual. He was always praying, just a quiet, you know, humble man trying to live a peaceful life. Then there was Amarjit Sekon. She was 48. She was a single mom, working very hard to support her 2 teenage sons. She was described as a devoted mom, always smiling, always sacrificing for her children. Her family said that she was super excited to start working at FedEx because it gave her, you know, hope for a better future. Like, he was looking for a job for quite a while, and then she got this job. So she was just like, yeah, this is great. You know, I can support my family. And then she died. She was killed in this incident. Then we have Jaswinder Kaur. She was 50, another member of the Sikh community. She was deeply rooted in her faith. Family and friends described her as soft-spoken, generous, always helping others. Her death sent, you know, shock through not just her family, but the entire Indianapolis Sikh population, which already felt overlooked and vulnerable. And those 4 Sikh victims weren't just co-workers. Like, their loss sparked calls for, as I said, for deeper investigation, because they were like, oh, it was this a hate crime, you know, racial bias, maybe their loved ones continue to this day to fight for visibility and justice. But these people were not the only ones who lost their lives. There were 4 more. There was Carly Smith, 19. She was barely out of high school, and she was just beginning to, you know, like, find herself in the adulthood and the adult life. And she'd only been working at FedEx for a few months. Her parents described her as sweet, a little shy, but always kind. She loved animals, and she was trying to save up to move out of her on her own. You know, she wanted to leave the parents' house and live on her own. She had dreams, like so many dreams, that just never came to be because she lost her life. Then there was Samaria Blackwell, also 19. She actually wanted to be a police officer. That was her goal. Like, her family said that she had a servant's heart. She always wanted to help others. She always put others first. She played basketball and soccer, and she loved her church community. When she was killed, she was just at the very start of what could have been a life spent protecting and uplifting others, because she was planning, you know, as she was going through the job at FedEx, she was planning to go to school, and she was planning to get her, like, police training. And then we have Matthew Alexander, 32. He'd worked at FedEx for years and was one of those people who made the place run, you know, like, he was really on top of everything. The guy you could count on. His family said that he was intelligent, funny, and just fiercely loyal. And he was an avid reader and a bit of a nerd in the best possible way. He was known to stay late, helping out coworkers, and had plans to move up in the company. And the last person to die was John Weisert, 74. He was a Navy veteran, a family man. He was just trying to enjoy his retirement. He was retired, but he took a part-time job to stay active, just like Jaswinder, sorry. Like, he said, like, yeah, you know what? I don't need this job really, but I want to be around people and I want to be active. He didn't really need to be there that night, but he was, and his wife said that he had worked his whole life, like, too hard to have it end this way. Yeah, Navy veteran. Yeah. So 8 names, 8 people, 8 lives, and countless people left behind, grieving, lost, angry. Those were not people looking for trouble. They were just doing what all of us do every single day, showing up for work, trying to build a life, trying to live their life, and their lives were just ripped away in an act of violence that could and should have been avoided, should have been prevented. So here's the question that haunted the aftermath of the FedEx shooting. And honestly, like, it still haunts this case to this day. Like, how did this happen when every red flag has already been waved? Because Brandon Hall, this is the last post on Facebook, Brandon Hall wasn't just some like unknown ticking time bomb hiding in plain sight. He was a walking, shouting, neon lit red flag known to the authorities. So how did this happen? Let's rewind to March 2020. Hall's mother, Sheila, she had been on the receiving end of this, right? She calls the police and she told them that her son was spiraling, that he was talking about suicide by cop, and that he had access to a shotgun. It wasn't just a concerned parent moment. Like, she was terrified. And she did what we're always told to do in these situations. She asked for help. This is like, she did exactly what everyone instructs you to do, right? Like, oh, call the police, tell them, report this, prevent this. So that's what she did. She was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna call the police. I'm gonna tell them my son has an access to firearm and he is displaying or, just showing signs of like being suicidal. Technically, police showed up, confiscated the shotgun. He was placed under another psychiatric evaluation and detention for a brief time. But then they released him and they didn't like flag him to prevent him from getting any more weapons. So Indiana has something called the red flag law, which I mentioned earlier in the case, it is supposed to let authorities temporarily remove firearms from people deemed dangerous to themselves or others, or prevent them from getting more firearms. And the law had been on the books since 2005. This is not a new law that was like, oh, no one knows how to execute it. No. 2005. And on paper, it should have worked here. But the problem is that the law only really kicks in if prosecutors file a court petition to make that gun seizure permanent. And that petition never filed. Like, it never happened. Yeah, they never filed it. Yeah. Like, Brandon's shotgun, yeah, that stayed, the shotgun stayed in police custody. But because no judge was informed of like his profile, the complaint or whatever, like there wasn't, the prosecutors didn't file for the red flag law. Yeah, he was not really declared a danger. Yeah, they just didn't. They were like, oh, but he's not. They evaluated him and they were like, okay, we're gonna take away his shotgun, but we're not gonna really, like, oh, he doesn't seem to be a danger. Like, he doesn't seem to be a danger, but it's like, yeah, he is. His mother told you he is. He is suicidal. He is saying all those things. He's doing all those things. Why don't you file it? They didn't. So then Brandon just waited And when enough time passed, he legally purchased those 2 semi-automatic rifles in July and September of 2020. It's just like a couple of months. Within a couple of months, he could purchase 2 guns. He passed the background checks. He walked right into a store. He wasn't flagged, not even once. So what's the point? What's the point of a red flag law if no one pulls the legal trigger? Like, what's the point of this law? Even the FBI got involved that year. They interviewed Hall. They interviewed Brandon. After his detention, agents reportedly found no evidence of a crime, no radical ideology, because he was like fixated on My Little Pony. So they're like, okay, well, he's just very passionate about this cartoon, whatever. But they didn't really look into what the dark corners of the Brony community. They didn't really look into like what he was really after, like what he was really obsessed about. Yeah, and they missed this, like something big, like this growing obsession with mass shootings, his dark online presence, and the disturbing memes mocking victims, and his escalating detachment from reality. Again, the signs were there, and again, nothing stuck. The victims' families are grieving to this day. You know, the Sikh community is still calling for a hate crime investigation for that never came. And, you know, Brandon Hall is now one more shooter, you know, one more mass shooter added to the list. That's it, you know. We ask, like, I think everyone is asking what could have stopped him, and the truth, like, a lot of things could have stopped him, but none of them did. None of them were executed. So this was just, I don't know, like, it's just such a hopeless situation, because technically there's so many systems, there's so many laws, there's so many things that are in place to flag these kind of people, and they failed. Every single fail-safe just failed. And that is it. That is the end of the case. Just a disturbed person. Oh, a very disturbed person. You guys, thank you so much. That is it for today. It's a horrible case. And as always, I just want to thank you for sticking with me through another very difficult case. I can't speak after all this, all the words, all the notes, all the things that I described. But thank you so much for sticking with me through another very difficult story. I mean, it's heavy, but I think the story matters. And let this be more than just like me retelling the story. Let it be a reminder that we have the tools to prevent tragedies, but we just need to actually use those tools. I think it's a matter of not using the tools that are there for us, that are there for in the system to prevent these things, and, you know, use them early enough. That's it. That's pretty much it about this case. Okay, I don't want to like get upset, because that's not why I'm here for, you know, like I'm here to talk about the case. But you guys, it's okay to leave the stream if you find the case boring, if you find the content boring. I am not holding you hostage here, because I saw one comment in the chat which was unnecessary. It's not necessary. I shouldn't be even addressing this, because like whatever. But yeah, like, you know, it just, you know, just be, you know, oh God, I don't even know what to say, but like, just bear in mind that I'm a person too. And yeah, like, you know, I do look at the chat, and I'm reading the chat, and I see this comment saying like, oh, I'm leaving because this shit is boring. Great. Then leave. You don't have to say it. You don't have to put it in the chat. Why put it in the chat? Just to like mess with me? Like what is going on? And yeah, you can leave. Absolutely. I know that this is not everyone's type of content. That's not exactly for everyone. Maybe the format doesn't stick with you or something. Like, it's fine. That's completely fine. There's so many creators out there that you can find and you can watch, and I hope you enjoy them. You know, I hope you find someone that resonates with you, and some content that you find more interesting than this. Completely fine. But just don't put it in my chat. Thanks. Yeah. That's it. This ain't no airport, seriously. Thanks for the history lesson. He probably tried to annoy you. Probably, yeah. Like, no, I know. But it's just like, yeah, like, was this necessary? Like, it's not necessary. Just don't. Just don't. Just move on. Just move on. True, not everyone has an interest in true crime, but they don't need to upright say it. Yeah, you just don't need to. Like, in comments, like, whatever. Yeah, sure, you can. You can go to the comments and rage and say like how bad I am and like how horrible this content is, how boring it is. Knock yourself out. But like in the chat while I'm like reading its live chat, yeah, it's just like, come on. I do read comments, but at least like, I can sift through them. Oh yeah. Big Slim, is this case boring? I don't know. I'm here to support Sona. Plus, I mean, Sona, you do amazing legwork to bring us a case. Thank you so much, Big Slim. Thank you so much, everyone. Everyone else, you guys, if you enjoyed the case, if you enjoyed the stream, I appreciate that you sit through the cases and you know, like I appreciate that you are here to discuss the case, to listen to it and learn something from it too. Probably someone trying to one guy you. I mean, to annoy you. One guy. But yeah, probably someone trying to annoy me. That's fine. That's fine. It's just like, you know, it's just kind of like, especially if I catch this kind of message in chat, yeah, then I get upset because I'm like, I want to address it now, but I want to focus on the case. Like, I don't want to get distracted. And it does distract me. Like, regardless, it does distract me. That's why I'm like addressing it at the end, trying to just push it to the end. And I don't know. But yeah, you guys, everyone else, if you enjoyed the case, if you like listening to my cases and you know, like the content that I put out, please remember to like the video. It does help my channel a lot. It helps tremendously. And leave a comment. That also helps my channel tremendously if you leave a comment. Maybe I could get like a rage bait. Maybe someone, this person's gonna go and rage in the comments. Please do. Rage in the comments. Yes. Even if you comment like rage-filled comment, that actually does help my channel. Like just so you know. I think that's the irony. Like, yeah, even if you don't like a video and you hate the creator and you comment, you know, something nasty, that is still a comment, by the way. So at the end of the day, it does help the creator. But yeah, thank you so much. I do hope that the comments are going to be positive, but hey, I'll leave that up to you. So thank you so much for this suggestion. This was a very interesting case, and I'm glad that we got to cover it. Next week, well, I'm going to be taking 2 days off, so Monday, Tuesday. I'll be back on Wednesday. So we'll be back on Wednesday with something spooky. I'm gonna make sure to maybe like cover 2 cases. There's definitely gonna be a case on Patreon this week because I'm preparing for it. It was a big case and it just required me to do a little more research. It's just longer, and just be advised that this case is gonna be about babies, like multiple babies passing away. Or being murdered. So it will be pretty graphic and pretty disturbing. Because as I said in another stream, in my previous stream, there's this case. So the case that I'm gonna cover on Patreon is this case that from a hospital that in like 1 year or 2 years, they registered so many deaths, like infant deaths, and they had no idea what was happening. Because usually you register like, I don't know, like not that many, like a couple a year, not too intense from NICU. But then they started like the babies started like dying of different causes, and they're like, what is happening? So they would be marked in the media. I told you guys before, but in the media the babies wouldn't be named, but the reports would be naming the babies like, baby A, right? Like the babies who passed away, baby A, baby B, baby C. They went from baby A to baby Q. It was that bad. And then there was like this huge plot twist, like who actually did it, because it wasn't just coincidental deaths. It wasn't SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. It wasn't SIDS. It wasn't like coincidence, accident. No. These were murders. murders. Baby A to baby Q. Yeah. It was horrible. It was horrible. And the person who did it, it was just like completely unhinged. So yeah, we're gonna cover that case this upcoming week over on Patreon. Oh, and I just wanted to let you guys know that there will be an earlier, let's say an earlier, what do I call it? Wait. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the, you know, FEARSONA 3D debut, June 28th, official debut. But then I want to do an earlier debut a couple of days before the official one. So there's going to be an earlier debut on Patreon. So if you are a Patreon member, you're going to have access to that one. There's going to be scuff because I expect that I will be kind of polishing stuff and just trying to set things up. So that might be, that one might be like a little bit more scuffed. But I expect some scuff on the official date too. But yeah, you know. We're gonna meet on Patreon and you guys will see the model first. So exciting. Thank you so much again. Stay safe out there. Always lock your doors and windows. Bear your hexes. Until the next time. Bye. Appreciate you and work. Joshua, thank you so much. And Dino Alex, got any fun facts? Do I have any fun facts for today? I did. I think I did, but I forgot. Wait, I do have it saved. Oh. Apparently camel's milk doesn't curdle. Yeah, well, if that helps your life. If that helps you somewhat, somehow. If this knowledge helps you in any way, shape, or form, great. But camel's milk doesn't curdle and it's great. Have you guys seen? Okay, the bizarre thing, the most bizarre thing in this world that I just kind of, I don't know, like awakened to recently is giraffe core. Have you guys seen any giraffe core videos? Jesus, you have to watch that. Giraffes are the weirdest creations of nature. Like, I think nature thought like, a horse. You know what? A horse. But with a huge long neck. Just like, long fucking neck. Yes! Have you guys seen how giraffes drink from like a pond? It's crazy. Like, oh yeah, nature was like, oh yeah, let me create something that can reach really high. But then it has to drink. Oh no, that's difficult. Have you guys seen how like they drink? Because they have to like crouch and they can barely reach down, and it's so ironic because their necks are so long. They're like, yeah, let me create something that can reach really high, but when it comes to like bending down and drinking from a puddle, oh no, that's not what we do here. Wait. It's hilarious. Okay, you guys, thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.